Hello and welcome. My name is Tom.
And I'm Heather.
And you're sitting at the Couples Table.
The Couples Table is a live stream podcast here on this channel. Join us for better or worse.
For richer or poorer.
In sickness and in health.
As long as we both shall live. Yay.
Yeah. Hello.
We did it. That was pretty smooth. I
yes.
didn't mind
Episode 49
there we
is
are.
in the house. Hello,
we are
everybody.
in the house. Yes, see? We are in
The house.
Yes. And to our viewers in the 90s, hello, welcome. It's nice to see you.
It's so funny.
It's great. It's going to get blocked by the camera that's on the slider. So
The camera's on the slider.
we'll go back
today.
here. There we go.
All right. Hello, everybody. So,
What up?
well, today's our 49th episode.
It is. That's awesome. That's crazy, actually. That's a lot.
I know.
That's a lot of episodes. A lot of eps. A lot of peeps. Peep in the eps. I don't know. Sorry.
Wow. Okay, so why don't we make the announcement about what we're thinking for 50th?
Yes. So next week is our 50th episode. We want to do something special, something fun, something a little bit different than normal. And so, since we are paying extra for the Ecamm Pro membership, which includes the interview function,
we're going to do a call-in show. Yay. This is
Oh,
inspired.
the song is still going. Sorry, that was weird.
This is inspired by the call-in show that I'm about to have tomorrow on the YouTube Huddle Up. I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing my call-in show tomorrow, which I'm very excited. So tune in for that if you have ever tuned into the YouTube Huddle Up. Be camera ready. I'm so excited to meet everybody. But I was like, why don't we do that for the couples table too?
Yeah. So that's what we'll do. Next week, same time, everything's the same. We'll just post our Ecamm link, and then if you want to join, you just click that link, and when you go to log in, it'll just take you to a browser window, and you can select your video source and your audio source. It's super simple. It's like as easy as logging into a Zoom call if you've never done it before. But just keep that in mind in case you want to be a part of it, so that way, like Heather said, you can be camera ready and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
All
so
right.
that'll be next Thursday.
Yep, next Thursday, first one of June.
Yeah. And if you're listening to the audio version, this is a perfect reason to hop on the live stream.
Yeah, the audio version
and
comes
join
out on
us.
Tuesday. So if you're listening to this the day it came out, that's only 2 days from now.
Yay.
You can join that version right there. And
Cool.
look at that. Filmtopia. I shall be at both tomorrow's and next
Yay,
week's. That's
sweet.
right. And Mr. Camera Junkie's excited. Aubrey's excited.
Sweet.
And Michael likes the 90s cameras look. 90s camera look.
Perfect. All right. So what are we talking about today, Tom?
I don't know. I've just had a lot on my mind lately. Can you set me straight?
Oh,
Would you
my
mind?
goodness. Yes. So today we're going to be talking about mindset. Dun, 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 dun,
I don't
dun.
have a
Mindset.
sound for that. Yeah, that's the song.
I thought that we could talk about, you know what it is? I think the reason why, because I came up with this idea, I think because I've gotten a few messages in the past week that I feel like are very mindset related, where
Like what?
just like, oh, this thing is holding me back. But really, I feel like I would go so far to say, having done this for 5 years, that like 90% of the things that you struggle with as a content creator are mindset related. It's just
I could
shifting your
agree with that
perspective.
for sure.
Yeah, because when it comes down to it, I think that as soon as you start thinking that something is beyond your control, or like you won't be able to do something until XYZ happens, like immediately you're putting the responsibility or even the opportunity of success in someone else's hands other than your own.
Right.
And I don't think that that's, I don't even know like how to explain what
Well,
I'm
it's not
saying.
helpful because
It's like beyond your control. Like you're forcing it to be beyond your control. Whereas if you took ownership of that, and if like, for example, if something isn't working, it's not about like, okay, I give up. It's about like, okay, how do we find a solution, even if that solution is not immediately clear to me right now?
I remember this totally reminds me of something I forgot about, which was when I was like 19 or 20, starting college. I remember thinking ahead, like, oh, what's it going to be like when I'm like 25? That's so old. And just sort of imagining like what I would be like, what my life would be like, all that stuff. and thinking like, that's cool. And then I remember one day, like literally it hit me that like, oh, that's not going to happen unless I do something. Like I was just sort of thinking like, oh, well, this will, whatever goals, they will just be achieved and you'll get to this point in your life. And it's like, oh, no. Nothing will change unless I take active steps to change it and try to steer it in the direction that I want it to go. And I know that sounds really obvious, but this kind of reminds me of the same thing where when it comes to like creating stuff, your thinking can be the thing that gets in the way, or it can be the thing that helps you. And whatever it is you're thinking about doesn't even necessarily change. It's just your approach to it changes.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounded smart.
So there are a ton of resources, YouTube videos, books, podcasts about mindset and shifting your mindset. So definitely go check that out. I think the overall message as we get into this a little bit deeper is, if you haven't thought about mindset or even like what it is, I definitely encourage you to think about it, look into it, because I think it's just a necessary part of the journey as a content creator. But then what I wanted to focus on today was, Tom.
Focus on me, yes.
What is, like, can you look back and think of like one of the biggest mindset shifts or perspectives, or like maybe like one of the ones that you were really struggling with?
Yeah, for sure. Monetizing.
So what do you mean? Like 100%. What was your mindset before, and what
We've
is it
talked
now?
about this, but we can dive in not deep as you want. But when I started my YouTube channel, I was so firmly against any form of monetization because I thought that would compromise the integrity and the authenticity of what I was trying to do.
Which is so funny because I really think that that's like totally opposite of how most people go into.
I know, which I fully understand and respect my past self, like the thoughts that I was having.
Yes.
However, it took me a while. It took me until the channel started sort of organically generating revenue, which is a thing that can happen. And I started realizing, okay, I'm not doing anything different. I'm not sacrificing my morals or integrity or anything, and it's generating revenue. And then even further down the line, it was like, well, what if I actually like were strategic about this and wasn't so random? What if it was like, okay, I don't know, if I make a video about a product, like, yeah, why not have that affiliate link up front? Not make a video specifically to include an affiliate link, but like just little bits of strategy, stuff like that. I don't know, organizing a video description to include relevant stuff, like whatever that might be, a little bit of strategy behind it. And same thing, didn't have to change, didn't have to compromise integrity or lose anything like that. But then now the channel's generating revenue. And the reason I bring that up is because it took me like 1.5 years to really learn that. And fine, the journey is what it is. But had I shifted my mindset earlier, I would have just saved myself.
Leaving money on the table.
I was leaving money on the table, but also I would have just saved myself I feel like the channel would have evolved quicker.
Yeah.
More quickly, yeah.
Totally. I did not have that problem.
But that was just a big one for me.
Yeah.
Was going into it. Anything that involves money and getting paid for what you're doing is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest thing that I still struggle with, but I recognize it now, so it's easier to deal with, is the just not feeling good enough. I think people have said not good enough.
So much to learn that you felt that way. It was
my
shocking
gosh.
to me.
So this is like day one, which is like so weird because even when I look back at my old videos, I'm like, look at me go.
Yeah, I know. You're so proud of it. And that's how I felt when I met you. Was like literally when we met in, last week we went down memory lane and watched like our intro video or montage and everything. But Heather does have our first meeting on camera with the big air hug. But on my point of view, it was, I had gotten a text message that said like, okay, I'm here. So I went out to go meet her, and literally she's getting out of the car with like camera and doing the thing. And I was like, oh, she's going for it right now. And it was just like, I thought you were the coolest. I thought you were the most confident. You were my like prime example of,
aww, that's adorable.
Like, this is what like a thriving, YouTuber is like. And so it shocked me when you're like, oh, I don't feel like I'm good enough, or I'm questioning myself, because it's like that's the last thing I would have expected or thought.
I think, like, looking back, I don't know. Like I said, I think this is just my personality. I think I'm wired for that to be my default, but I know how to deal with it now because of experience. I have a support system and stuff like that. So it's easier to deal with now. But looking back at it, I think like the way that it would manifest was through a lot of like holding myself back. I spent a lot of time debating, thinking, being indecisive, just like, oh, I don't know if even though it's funny though, because like when I look back, I obviously took action.
Right.
So it didn't hold me back that much, but I know the feeling of how much it did hold me back. And I'm curious if like, I always wonder if I could go back and just take all of that insecurity out and throw it out the window, where would I be now? I mean, it's fine. The journey is what the journey is, but I
mean, that's true. Patrick said imposter syndrome is a real thing, but that's what will push you to do good work. And I kind of agree, like that, whatever you want to call it, that insecurity, that stress, whatever, it can be the thing that pushes you. I remember, this is sort of related, but when I started teaching, it felt so weird to like, okay, here's a room of 45 teenagers, you be in charge of them. And it's like, you can go through all the teacher prep programs and classes in the world, but nothing really prepares you for like, the door shuts, the bell rings, and now what do you do for an hour? Like, how do you actually steer the ship? And I just felt so weird, like, who's going to listen to me? Like, everything just, and there's whatever it is, 90 eyeballs staring at you, and it's like, oh my gosh, every little imperfection, every weird trait is going to be analyzed, which is true when it comes to high school kids. But I remember I had this moment where I was like, this is so weird for me because I've not done this before. But for them, they come into a classroom and they expect there to be a teacher that's telling them what to do. And it's weird for me to be in that position, but that is what's expected. So why don't I just act as if this is what I normally do? And that turned out everything was totally fine. Because yes, the students go into a classroom, even if they're not expecting to do work or they're slackers or whatever, they expect there to be a teacher to tell them to not be a slacker. And it's just like, oh, okay, I'll just fill that role right now. But a lot of it was like imposter syndrome and that kind of stuff to begin with. But I think it did push to be better too.
Yeah.
Tenderheart asks, question, the one thing holding you back from what?
Your goals, success, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve.
You're just getting in your own way. That was a phrase that I heard earlier this year. And it was like a New Year's resolution. I forget who it was. Someone on Twitter, their New Year's resolution was, I just want to like stop getting in my own way. And I was like,
here's the message that I got this week. Why are you laughing?
I got a message that said I'm a brown noser.
What's that?
Because I made a video about how I like a Rode microphone. And they said I'm a brown noser, like, like you're kissing their butt.
Oh.
That was my message I got. It wasn't a mindset thing.
That's rude.
Yeah.
Ew, mean.
I know, right? Anyway.
Okay, so one of the messages that I got was the channel I'm thinking about doing has already been done.
Oh, yeah. That's such a common one.
Yeah. And to me, it's like, so does that mean you just don't do it because it's already been done? Or like, what is the issue?
I think of it, this is not a perfect analogy, but that always reminds me of roller coasters, where you could go to a theme park and you see an awesome roller coaster and you see a bunch of people on that roller coaster screaming and whatever. And then you're like, well, they already rode it, so I don't need to ride it. It's already been ridden. It's like, but you haven't done it and you haven't experienced it and you haven't gone through it. It doesn't matter that other people have done the same thing, ridden the same ride. Like, it's going to be a unique experience for you. And I just kind of think of that as the same way. Like, yeah, okay, this channel's already been done. Well, guess I'll continue to do nothing.
I mean, I think back to when I first started, I think that was a valid concern because I think the consensus? I think the perception was that you did need to kind of be the one and only that was doing something. But now it's like we're all subscribed, like you're subscribed to like so many camera channels.
Yeah.
It's not about like being the one. I think the culture has shifted. Like, oh, it's even if it is a small channel, that doesn't mean that it's not.
It's a different flavor.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's another one
That's
that
a great
got?
example. Filmtopia said, "My life story is getting in my own way."
Yeah, same here, dude.
But it's sort of empowering.
You're doing great, though.
I know.
Yeah.
Once you realize that you're the one in the way and it's not an external force. I did a whole podcast about this a while ago where I was talking about YouTube. And I was actually taking it from a thing I used to tell my students, which was like the universe. Because sometimes kids, especially like teenagers, like seniors and stuff in high school, would get to the point where like, oh, the world's out to get me and this, that. And I was like, the world just doesn't even care about you. Like, it's not out to get you. It's not out to help you. It just doesn't care about you. And they'd be like, ouch, that's harsh. And I'm like, is it though? Because that means it's not actively against you and it's not going to stop you from doing the things you want. And I did a podcast a few weeks ago about YouTube and the same thing, because some people would be like, YouTube is this horrible, evil thing. And it's like, YouTube doesn't care about you. Like, it wants you to upload content because then it has more content. But if you don't upload it, somebody else will. And YouTube's happy with that. It does not care that you're the one uploading or not.
Yeah.
Which, you could be like, oh, that sucks. They should appreciate all my hard work. But at the same time, it's like, well, that gives you the freedom to be the one that decides how and when you do it and why you do it and all that great stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Tender heart. What holds me back is the lack of information What holds me back if they lack information during this time of trial and tribulation. Yeah, we have a tendency
to turn to YouTube for knowledge and information.
We have a tendency to turn to YouTube. Yeah, I mean, that's getting into such sticky situations of platforms and vetting info.
So, okay. Because I was trying to think of like, what's the mindset thing that I'm struggling with now?
What is it? I feel like there's something there, but I don't know what it is.
My thing now is, I don't even know how to explain it, but maybe it's not a mindset thing, but it's more of like having a better understanding of how my mind works. So because I just launched a new live stream podcast on my other channel called From 1 to 100, you should totally go check it out. This one was the guest on Tuesday.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out.
But like approaching that, you could say, oh, it's just another live stream show. Oh, it's another podcast. You've done this before. Mm-hmm. But like it is the first of its kind for me. And I put a lot of research, time, effort. Like it was building. It was building phase. And what I've learned about myself is being in a certain type of phase, I can't do anything else. So if I'm in building phase, like kind of like everything else drops. And now that I've launched that first episode, now I just want to be in execution phase. I told Tom yesterday, I'm not taking on any new projects. I can't like do another new thing because I just need to keep the things that I've already created. Just
keep the plate spinning.
Keep the plate spinning.
Right.
Yeah. So like, the couples table, let's just keep doing this. YouTube huddle up, let's just keep doing this. We've got From 1 to 100, just more episodes. I want to do more tutorials and stuff. Like, it's really just about the execution of it. But it's like I can't do, whenever I come up with a new thing, and I am, this is like bound to happen. I'm sure you guys can feel it. But I'm trying to develop a new product service thing that addresses creators who want to see success in using the passion economy business model. And like the way that I'm envisioning it right now is like a hybrid between an online course and a group coaching and a mastermind thing. It's all going to be like one thing. And I'm just trying to not put it off, like that's not the word, but I know that when it's time to like hit the whiteboard and figure out how to like what that actually looks like, I can't. It like makes it really hard to also execute. I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know if that's a mindset thing. I don't know. But that's what I'm.
Because that's. I mean, we kind of talked about this week. We had a little bit of growing pains as we.
Oh yeah.
As we
had growing pains.
Business related growing pains.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah, get into that. Ooh.
Wow, we're gonna spill the tea over here. But it just has to do with like. Now that this is my full-time thing and I'm joining Heather in the world of full-time stuff, we're learning that we have different approaches to business, which is nothing like surprising or unusual, but it is just sort of like, I don't know how to, it's sort of like, so for example, Heather as my wife, if she wants to do something, like if she says like, I want to go out to dinner today, or I want this specific dinner, I don't know, I'm thinking of dinners, this specific thing, and I know she has like a want or a need, I will want to do everything I can to make that happen. And I get joy out of doing that. I feel like that's helpful. Like, you know, I like that. When it comes to business related stuff, if there's something where Heather's like, hey, I think we should do this, but I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm actually into that idea. My impulse as just a person and as your husband is to go like, okay, let me find a way to make this work. But that's not good, because then I'm going to be unhappy and resentful about this thing that we now have to work on. And you're not going to enjoy it because you're like, well, it seems like I'm just dragging you through the mud the whole way. So that was kind of like the core of our issue. But then we also sort of pinpointed that as, which is not actually what I would expect, but our strategies when it comes to business related endeavors are, yours is like plan, build a system, do that, like get all the pieces in order, which probably makes sense why it's hard to focus on anything else, because get the whole thing done and then whoosh, like curtain uncover, here is the thing. Whereas mine is like, I'll do it now, I'll fix it later. Like I'll just jump in and go for it and adjust as needed. And both are fine, honestly, but they're just totally different approaches, right? And yes.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, I got really confused.
I have pause because it's weird, because I would think that we would be the other way around.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Like,
because like you're very pragmatic and logical.
I wouldn't expect
step
that.
by step. I have ADHD. I'm super impulsive. I just jump in and figure it out. But I think what it is like, here's what I think it is. So we had, we kind of bumped heads over this thing, and basically it's like there was an opportunity. I was super psyched about it. And because you said, like, oh, Heather's psyched about it, that means I need to be psyched about it too. Yeah, but like literally, this is why I think it's just growing pains, where we just have to go through the situation for us to learn something. Yeah. Like, it's not something you could plan, like, hey, by the way, when this situation comes up,
hypothetically, if this super bizarre thing presented itself.
Right, but it's definitely like, I'm so glad that you learned that there is a difference between like Heather has a preference just in life, and then Heather has a preference.
Well, we had to clearly talk about it, because I remember what I ended up saying, or there were two clarifying moments that happened. My rubber wedding ring is ripped, so I need to order a new one. I just noticed that. There are two clarifying moments.
We're ripping our wedding ring?
It's not symbolic. It's just it's getting old, and yeah. But one of them was, because you said, as soon as you said, yes, I'm psyched about this idea, in my mind, I'm like, I have to make that work. Because if you said, I'm psyched about the idea of going on this thing or doing this thing together, I'm going to make that happen. But that just sort of meant like you were giving it the green light. And I just had to tell you, okay, when you say you're psyched about something, can you just be sure that in the future, if it's something that you're comfortable with me saying, I'm not psyched about it, and then we just move on, because you're like, I could be psyched about 100 other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and if that's the case, cool. But if it's something that you're very excited about, and then I say no, but you really like, if it's something that you really want to spend the time, like, it's more than just like, okay, I'll move on to something else. Like, making sure that I know that too, because, as much as you don't want to push, like, oh, I can't, if Tom's not immediately on board for it, I don't want to force him to do it. But knowing where it fits in your world also does help it fit into my world. So, like, we kind of talked about that. And then the analogy you used, which really snapped it clear to me, was you were like, I'm never going to love chocolate chips as much as you do. It's like, you could spend all day, because I love chocolate chips.
Like he literally
I just buy bags of chocolate chips
to the baking aisle at Walmart and just grabs a whole,
Hershey's
like
Special Dark.
Yeah, that you put in like chocolate chips or like cakes.
You just
and
get
stuff.
the chips.
He
You don't need the cookie or whatever.
Gets the chips, and he like hand in the bag. That's how he eats it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
10 out of 10.
Chocolate chips.
Would recommend.
I would never do that though.
Yeah, but that made it, because you're like, I could sit there and tell you why I like it, why it's delicious, why blah blah blah, but it's never gonna flip the switch for you where you're like, oh my gosh, I am also craving a handful of chocolate chips. And that made sense to me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we could look at the business opportunity, and it's like, you could tell me all the reasons that it's cool, but there's just something that it's never going to click for me.
Here's like the takeaway, I would say. The more that you create content, right? The longer that you put yourself out there, you build your brand, the more opportunities will present themselves. And I have learned that as shiny as something can be, and as like, you know, I've had like really awesome companies approach me, and I always thought like, oh my gosh, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. This is the thing that I've been waiting for. And then for whatever reason, it just falls through.
Yeah.
There's always something that, like, something else will present itself. You'll meet another person, you know, someone else has an idea, they reach out to you, there's a collaboration, there's an event, you know.
You can even
like,
come back around with those same people later on, like.
Exactly. So, you know, if you think that, oh my gosh, you know, this opportunity is the thing that I need to get to the next level, that's like 100% not true, because as long as you keep creating, there will always be another opportunity. And that's how I see this thing. So like, I think the thing is like, you, even though I'm super excited and I'm obviously I'm displaying the same signs of, you know, this is where it's going to get weird as like husband and wife and business partners, because I'm sure I look the same.
You're the same person acting the same way.
But I have no emotional, I've learned to not be emotionally connected to any business opportunity, because I just know, like, hey, you want to talk about, like, for never mind all the opportunities that people present to me. How about the, you know, ideas that I have in my own folder and to-do lists and Notion boards of like all the stuff that I think would be cool that we could just build from scratch. Like, there's always a new idea. Like, I have no shortage of new ideas. So yeah, I'm glad that we went through that, but I'm also glad that, you know, that like, if I'm super excited about something, that does not mean, if you're not, that I'm like, gosh, Tom.
Yeah, well, and because I could have pushed through, but what I learned is that the stuff that I'm good at is the stuff that I'm naturally excited about. And that's where you're going to get me.
Otherwise, it's just pulling teeth with Tom.
Well, it is, but that's also where you're going to get me at my best. And I'm going to be doing the best work and delivering in the best way. Whereas if I have to, like, if it is pulling teeth because I don't want to be doing something, and
but if I don't know that,
no, I know.
Like,
but it's like, that's what I've learned. That's what I am learning, I guess, is why put, you know, that's what you said, is like, why even put yourself in this position?
Yeah,
in the first
you don't
place?
have to. Like, totally.
Because if I wanted to be in a position where it's like I have to do stuff that I'm not that interested in just for the sake of a paycheck, well, why? I would just keep my job.
Right. It's easier. It's just so much easier to just work for somebody else. And oh my God.
But the whole point of that insane life change was to be able to wake up and go like, my calendar is what I have chosen for the day. And that is... It's very, very hard to then put a price on something that's going to, like, steer away from that.
Yeah. Let's check in.
Check in.
Let's check in.
We got all kinds of folks here.
What's up, Jake?
All right. Filmtopia, ironically, execution phase is somewhat actually peaceful.
I love execution phase. Let me tell you. Oh, it's like, oh, my goodness.
That's what you always say. I just want to execute. I just want to execute. I get the pieces of motion, then I can just execute. I've heard you say that like 10,000 times.
Like, I'm not even kidding. So, you know that I Love Lucy episode where she does the chocolate like down the conveyor belt?
Classic, yes.
So it's a, you know, it gets insane and it's funny and it's outrageous, but like, just to be a robot at a conveyor belt and just like completely mindless, I love that. Like, I definitely love the ideas and the brainstorming and like, let's come up with something that didn't exist before. Like, that's super fun and thrilling, but there's definitely times where I just want to do something so insanely mindless. Like, sometimes when I go to like Starbucks, it's like you just make the same drinks and you just do it over and over.
The system
and
is
over
in place
again.
and you just...
Yeah, it's like... Oh my God, how satisfying
Yeah,
is
no,
that?
I can
That's
understand
like
that.
so satisfying.
I like it. I always refer to it as like refining, because you have these things that you do and you just focus on those and you just keep refining them. You get better. Even if it's like making videos, you have your system for making videos. This is how I make a video. Each time you do it and go through that system, it's going to get just a little bit better. You're going to learn a little editing trick. You're going to tighten this thing up a little bit. And it's like, even though you're doing the same system the same way, 10 times later, it's going to be improved. And if you're constantly starting like, I'm going to do this now for the first time, and now this for the first time, and this, it's like everything is just like messy and bizarre and all that. But Luis said the mind is 100% a bias confirmation machine.
For sure.
You can be your own greatest asset or worst enemy. JP, what's up? JP, I took your idea earlier this week when I was on Heather's thing, and I used in-ear monitors that run. I used my drum monitors that run behind, so they didn't.
I'm gonna be on JP's show on June something.
Nice, June.
Sometime in June.
Let's see here, or on a joint. Let's get to know each other. Oh. Let's see. Patrick said Hershey's. No, Ghirardelli Dark. Don't worry, I've got both literally in the pantry right now.
Yeah, he gets both.
But Hershey's Special Dark holds a special place in my dark heart, because I don't know, something about really like Hershey's Special Dark. Also, I forget, and I worked there for years, but Trader Joe's dark chocolate, like wherever their suppliers are for dark chocolate, Trader Joe's has great dark chocolate, as does C's Candy. Their dark chocolate's good. Not all dark chocolate is the same.
Their mocha truffle.
Dark chocolate chip truffle. That's my jam. Let's see here. There's always a new idea. Heather 2021. And Luis, it's easier to work for someone else. It's also the hardest thing to work for someone else. Yeah, because I mean, it depends. Like, it depends on who you are, where you're at in your life, what your goals are. If you have that itch or that bug to do something on your own and you have to work for someone else, it's torture.
If we ever got to a point where, like, I don't know, our brand grew so much that it became a company or something, like, I think it's like my dream to be second in command.
Because you know what you need to do, but you don't have to be the one deciding
I just need somebody to tell me what to do, and I will do it better than anybody else, I promise you. But it's like, I love everything I've come up with, but it's like really hard I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's ADHD or what, but it's really hard for me to switch gears from building to execution.
And I very much have the, like, if someone told me to do it, now I'm specifically not going to do it thing. Even though I'm a total rule follower. Like, if the system is in place and I enter the system, I'll follow every rule. But if I'm doing something here and someone says, no, do this, I'm like bristles. No. I don't know what that is. I kind of wish that weren't the case, but it is. Let's see here. James and Mark, speaking of mindless jobs, ripping tickets at the movie theater.
See, but I am thinking of a job where, like,
you can get lost in your mind and just sort of, you just do the thing and then you're just kind of like,
I need it to be a little bit hectic. Like, I want it to be so busy that, like, I mean, you know this. What was that game, James, that I would play? Diner Dash. Like, I love that. There's just like, Diner Dash is like a Yahoo game back in the day, but there's like so many customers in the diner, and you have to like seat them. You gotta give them menus.
You know what you would have loved? Your favorite job in the world would have been working at the video store.
Oh, I would have loved it.
Oh my God, because
you gotta sort everything out.
You gotta sort everything. Oh, there's customers everywhere. Every time you do the customer, it's the same. Like, you can literally like get more efficient at like getting the ID, typing in the number, doing this, scanning the movies, popping out the locks of the movies, doing this receipt like in here with just the top sticking out that says the date it's supposed to return.
I used to work at a library.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. And then when all the stuff is there and you need to just check everything in and organize it. I just
love that.
You got the big stacks and then you're done and everything is just where it should be. And it's a great feeling. Like, miss working at the video store. Michael said Special Dark is the best. I used to love when we got the miniatures as a kid because no one liked the dark chocolate except for me. Yes, it's definitely an acquired taste, but once you acquire it, it's like, oh, milk chocolate? Get that kids food out of here.
Whoa.
Philip Vaughn, what's up, Philip? Very insightful videos. Any update on the M1 Mac Mini still serving you guys well? Very much so. No change in mindset there. We're both still using them. That's what's running this stream right now. it's
I don't even
still
think
great.
about my computer.
Yeah,
so
literally,
take
it's like
that
it
for what
doesn't
it is.
exist.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Filmtopia, holy guacamole! My dream is to be a number 2.
Like,
Is
I just feel
mind-blowing.
you have no idea. I would be the best. Like, if someone told me, increase sales by 20% in the next 6 months, I just need someone to tell me that, and I
Take
will
this
kill
data and put it into a spreadsheet.
But like for me, the annoying part about being CEO is like I have to analyze that data. I have to project my own goals. I have too many ideas. I can't figure out what I want to focus on, and then it's like really hard to tell myself, who's also second in command, like what to execute on. That's like, so if I think Tom is a great visionary. He's a very good like at here's all the pieces and here's the direction that we want to steer the ship. I would be like, all right, let's go.
My problem is I'm also a control freak, and I'm like, here's all the pieces. This is where we need to go.
Yeah, but
I now need to do the whole thing. I do trust you. Yeah, I do trust you. David Conover, I'm very mindlessly printing shirts while I watch you guys. Perfect example.
Yay.
Because that's, it takes skill, it takes thought, it can be busy, but like it's got that repetition.
Yeah.
Paul says, have you tried Himalayan salted dark chocolate almonds from Target? Not from Target, but yes, tried those.
Hi, Michael Calhoun.
Michael Calhoun, evening.
I've been appreciating your comments on all the passion economy stuff.
Oh, good. There we go. See? Leo's here. What is up, Leo? It's nice to see you.
Christmas Clatter.
Christmas Clatter, rare day off. Finally get to watch live. Hopefully you're enjoying your day off and you get to relax. Now people are talking about... Patrick says Mounds, dark chocolate plus coconut perfection.
Now we're just talking about chocolate.
I'm going to just disagree, though, and just say coconut, guys, not nuts about it.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan of coconut.
Dark chocolate and almonds.
But Tom's birthday is December 4th, so feel free to send him chocolate.
Sure, because chocolate through the mail always holds up really well going to a desert address.
Oh boy.
So there we go. So that's kind of like.
So what are you struggling with right now? Because I talked about my thing, but what's your? Do you have a mindset thing that you're working through?
I don't know. I think everything probably does boil down to a mindset thing. Kind of a big one today, actually. Today, my YouTube video that came out was the second sponsored video I've ever done. Officially sponsored video.
Ho, 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 ho. Where's my air horn? Babe, you gotta put it right here.
I don't have a stream deck.
Here, F1. Just program the thing, dude.
I'm not the Ecamm Pro like you are, though. You should see her Ecamm setup. But anyway, I did one sponsored video in 2019. I've never done another one until today. And it was with Artlist, which like literally has been talking about doing a sponsored video for a year.
The longest. He just keeps putting it off.
Yeah, and I
not because you don't want to do it, but I don't know why. So yeah, why have you been putting it off?
Well, so maybe this is a mindset thing because Artlist last year when I did the ethics statement for my YouTube channel, I developed that, was really excited about it, and then Artlist showed up, and they were the first people that I had the opportunity to point towards it, and they're like, "Hey, you want to do a sponsored video?" And I was like, "Well, here's this," and I was very timid of sharing that statement with everyone because it's not super brand friendly. Like you don't get to preview things, you don't get to decide when it comes out, you don't like it's very no control over social media, no control over anything like that.
Sorry, I need to cut you off before I forget this thought. So you know how on Tuesday on the From 1 to 100 show we were talking about how you're a hybrid model? Okay, so I just thought of this, like if you're purely creator economy business model, this is why you would have the need for a manager, because literally they would just manage all the sponsorship opportunities, pick the ones that are most in line, and then you don't even have to like worry about talking to them.
And I know people who love working with their managers.
Yeah, and then like they just create the content for for the things. But as someone who's doing the hybrid, you are very carefully selecting, like intentionally turning many opportunities down. I mean, like you said, you've done this 3.5 years. This is your second freaking sponsored video at 67,000 subscribers, which is like, and I know, you tell me, I know how many people have approached you for sponsorships, and you're just like, nah. Boom,
boom, boom. Yeah, I definitely say no to more money in a month than I get in a month.
Yeah.
But point being, though, is that last year, talked to Artlist and did this whole thing. They were like, we love this ethics statement. It makes us want to work with you more because it's so authentic. And then I was like, well, here's the idea of a video I'm working on. And they're like, yeah, sure, we'd love to do that. And then I was still like, I don't think I'm comfortable. And they're like, that's fine. We're here whenever you need us. They finally reached out again recently, and I was like, they actually reached out for their stock footage thing. And I was like, I don't use stock footage, so I'm not the best person to do that. But I think I am ready to talk about doing like an Artlist sponsored video. And they're like, great, that's awesome. Like, what do you have in mind? And I was like, well, this idea or that idea. And turns out they wanted to sponsor this week's video, and they're also going to do a bigger video next month as well. And I decided, which I'm cool with, because now I've literally known them for years. Like, we talk outside of this stuff, so I trust them. I know them. I use their service for 4 years, so it's like a very authentic kind of relationship. However, me getting over that hurdle was one component.
Yeah.
Getting a brand partner who was on board with what I was doing was another component. And then the third one, which has been very, very scary, is the viewer, the audience. Probably, arguably the most important one in this equation, because I was really scared.
Most of your audience did not see your first sponsored video.
Yeah, most of my audience didn't see. Trust me, most people didn't see that video. It did not perform well. However, that's what I was kind of thinking was like, I don't think people are going to riot in the streets over having a 60-second sponsorship, because the sponsored video isn't like a commercial. It's literally, I took a video that I'd already made, and they were like, we'd really love to be able to do one this month. And I was like, well, I could add you into this video. And I'm like, that sounds great. Like, whatever it's about is fine. Which is the easiest sponsor to work with in the world. And so it's not like the whole thing is a commercial. It's what the video is going to be about anyway.
Yeah.
But I was worried that people were going to get upset, or like, oh no, like, is every video on this channel going to be sponsored now? I even thought about doing a community post of like, let me just, and I didn't do that.
Yeah, like, don't draw attention.
But I was like, okay, people don't seem to care. Like, the only thing anybody has said about it all day has someone who said like, oh, thanks, like, Artlist seems awesome. I should go check them out. I'm like, oh, that's the point of the sponsorship, I guess.
Yeah.
No one else said anything, which is great. And that means like, okay, I can potentially be comfortable doing up to one sponsored video a month. Because I don't want it to be overdone. But then I was thinking like, well, so that was a big mindset shift of like, okay, not just going through the sponsorship thing, but what if it is a thing that happens from time to time, once every month or every other month or whatever. But if it's that case, like if I book, like I said, Artlist booked one for next month, that means I say no to everybody else that shows up. So if somebody says, we're going to give you $15,000 to do this thing.
Because you've already committed to your one a month.
Yeah. So that's, it's just sort of, I guess that's been a mindset shift of like, it's okay. It was like, actually like a fun video to make. People don't seem to mind it. Not every video is going to be like that. But still, like, that's a really scary thing of when things seem to be working, doing anything that could like throw it off balance or break it or whatever.
Risk, for sure.
Yeah. And this has been like, in terms numerically and statistically, the worst month in a really long time for things. So
Bailey Stone's here. What's up? Great to be here.
What's up? Thanks again for the voice message on my podcast.
Leo, Artlist is great. I use their music in all of my videos. Okay, I need to give Artlist another try, because when I subscribed, I literally used one song, and it was the song. You know what song it was? Tell you, babe. It was the song I used when you proposed to me. That song is an Artlist song, yeah. Yeah.
The thing is, because you're using Epidemic now, I use Artlist and Epidemic.
But it's just, so that was 2 years ago, and all the songs were very like indie. And I was like, dude.
The sites have different styles, and that's like, you look at the licensing, you look at the pricing, you look at the styles, you get the libraries.
Like on Epidemic, boom, I find a song in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, so just use that. Why you don't need to use anything else?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So there you go.
I mean, I use both.
Homesick. Did my first ever public live stream yesterday. Congrats.
Was scared SH-less.
But I promised some friends to help with certain content that pushed me over the limb. Otherwise, I'd still be planning. Yeah.
Getting that external like motivation.
Yeah. Coop DeVille Slim. Had to pop in because I saw your video. But Heather, my brand manager, swears by your teachings. Glad I finally got a chance to check you guys out thoroughly. Impressed.
Yay.
Keep going, guys. Just great. Oh, awesome.
That's like a great message.
Yeah.
I love it.
Brand manager, talk to me. Like, what's your brand? I'm
Explain.
curious. Like, yeah, what? I'm curious.
And
Tell me more.
Michael said, understand your hesitancy, but the value that came from that video was much great. Oh, because it's the Final Cut audio syncing video, and it'll save me more than the 60 seconds. Yeah, and it's like with YouTube now, you can put the sponsorship in the timeline. People can easily just go, poop. I tried to make the sponsorship, like, try to put some jokes in there. Plus, like, I do have... like when I started my YouTube channel, this is now sounding like an Artlist sponsorship. Before I even made a video, I bought my Artlist license because I was like, I'm going to do this serious. I'm going to do it right. I did that. And that was a huge deal for me to invest money in this idea. And that was before I'd even made a video. So that, like, no other brand has that relationship with me of like, I invested in you as a foundational part of this YouTube journey. And that's what I told him. I was like, for the 60 seconds, I can talk about some of the things, but I can also hit on like my personal thing, which I think is a unique angle that most other people. So I was like, try to be informative, try to be a little funny, and try to also like speak from the heart, because I actually do, like, I'm not lying, you know, when I say this stuff, and that seemed to work fine.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with every company. I can't do that for NordVPN. You know, sorry, Nord.
Dude. Anyway, Artlist license is just incredible. So easy when working with clients.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's the other time I use it.
Oh yeah, if you're doing client work, just
it's so much easier.
Just do Artlist.
If you do a sponsor vid with, say, Artlist, do they bar you or encourage you to not mention competitor services? Genuinely been curious about this forever.
I mean, it's going to depend on whatever deal you strike with, because each sponsor might have different terms for different people.
This is like Brittany when she was like the Pepsi girl, and then
got
a picture of her drinking a Coke.
No, I mean, they honestly, like, they didn't say anything to me. I took out my Epidemic affiliate link because that seemed not right to have in the video, and I made sure, of course, that the music in the videos from Artlist, so that makes sense. They didn't even tell me to do that. I just did that, and makes sense to do it that way. But I mean, I'm pretty open that I use both services. The one thing I did, because how I got connected with these companies was years ago, I made an Artlist versus Epidemic video just because I use both services and I wanted to explain the differences.
Yeah.
Not affiliated in any way with them. Then Artlist reached out and they were like, hey, we see this video. Seems like it's doing pretty well. Do you want to be an affiliate where people use your link to sign up and you get things? I was like, oh, sure. Put the link in that video. And then Epidemic reached out and they're like, hey, we see this video. Do you want to be an affiliate? And I was like, that'd be cool, but I'm already an Artlist thing. And they're like, we don't like
care.
Yeah, you use whatever you want, but do you want this link or not? And I was like, oh, sure. And then I told Artlist, I was like, Epidemic wants me to do this. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. We don't like... They're not out to destroy each other, it doesn't seem. And that's cool because it just means you get to do, you know.
Yeah, and well, what I think people really appreciate with us is that we actually use the things that we talk about. So, like, I don't even know if I told this story about eCamp. Did I tell the story?
I don't know. So, we have so many streams and conversations.
I know, man. So eCamp, it's like my favorite tool.
Heard of
like
it?
eCamp and Canva.
Look, on the dog cam, I put eCam stickers, so they're highly visible there.
Oh, nice. So if I were to say, like, what are the two tools I cannot live without is eCam and Canva.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to do finally my first video about eCam, but I forgot that I had gotten it for free because Tom and I were originally just using the same.
I bought eCam.
One. Yeah.
For the full price.
Because we were just streaming in here, like when
Actually, I googled
started.
a coupon code online, but that was unrelated to them. Yeah, so I bought it. That's so you can use the virtual cam, and then when Heather needed it in her room, she would just kind of log into my account and use eCam.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I wasn't like.
But you weren't using it that much.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, it's
great.
It's great. Yeah, I love eCam. And then I was going to make my video about it. And then I was like, oh my God, I am not paying for my own. And to make that video be more genuine, I straight up told eCam, can you cancel my free subscription that you guys so generously gave me?
To help.
Yeah, to help me, because they knew, like, you guys know Doc Rock, like, he's the community manager for eCam. He was like, dude, we'll, hook you up. We like you and Tom, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, I want people to know that I genuinely believe in this product so much that I am a paying customer myself. I just thought I was, and I forgot that I wasn't.
Yeah.
And so they literally canceled the subscription that
And
morning.
billed you.
Yeah, they billed me, and I, now I'm a paying customer.
Well, it's also, I think that we talked about, like, there's the gray area of every time you make a tutorial about Ecamm and you received it for free, technically you should be checking the paid promotion box.
And I didn't want to do
which
that.
adds a weird flavor to it,
Yeah.
even though you're like, I'm not actually selling anything in this video. Like, it is just a tutorial.
To me, it's like, if you like it that much, then why aren't you a paying customer?
Yeah.
And I can imagine myself, because I love Ecamm so much, I can imagine myself like working out or approaching them for some kind of partnership in the future, and maybe that ends up paying more than like what the annual membership is. But I still don't feel comfortable telling other people to use this thing that I myself am not paying for. Like,
Right.
I just feel weird about it.
Yeah, I still pay for my Artlist subscription, but my like Artlist affiliate stuff
Way
covers
past
it pretty
pays
easily.
that, yeah.
But
Exactly.
But I mean, then it still comes out of there.
Like
so
Canva Pro,
I guess they're paying themselves
I totally
out of
pay. I pay for everything. I thought I was paying for Ecamm. I totally forgot. But now
That's
I'm paying
funny.
for everything officially.
That's funny. So anyway, that answers the question here. Afsar Law Group, at some point you will need me. Yes, no.
Okay, so
We kind of have a list where we're like, this
Yeah.
isn't a mere question. This isn't a mere question.
it's
Yeah.
I'm gonna message you after this.
That actually had to go with when you said mindset things I've been dealing with.
Yeah.
The area of receiving things for quote unquote free.
We need to talk.
Has been a thing.
Well, this is what I wanted to do a from 1 to 100 episode about this, because I feel like you need to also business insurance. Is that something we need to talk about? We'll talk.
Mr. Camera Junkie, this week's live stream topic is about my live stream setup. Ecamm for the win. It's cool, but not stupid. They'll be happy to charge you. Yeah, they're like, if you want, they're not allergic to money. Like, they're going to be like, yeah, this is fine if you want to give us money.
But I also think it's not because in their marketing budget, I'm sure it
makes no difference.
Yeah, like I'm just one more customer, but I think they really appreciated the philosophy and like why I even
Well,
why
and that goes
I
for
reached
your
out
audience
to them.
too, because you're not just telling
Yeah.
me like you're sharing with me your knowledge about something you're passionate about. You're not selling me a product, and there's a very big difference. Even
And I
though
wanted that to be so clear.
yeah, and you could sell me on the product through your passion and knowledge, but that's
Right.
not why you're doing it.
Mhm.
And it's like this mindset thing, I guess. Like it's just how you're approaching it, because the content is the same, the info is the same, but
Yeah.
it's just how that goes. Bailey, $7.99 super
ho,
chat.
ho.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I like this, Michael. Have you seen the N? P.
The P.
Oops. I still don't know what we're asking.
Stand up, peeps. That's why we all love you guys.
Boom, bada, bum, bada,
Bum,
bum,
bum, bum,
bum.
bum, bum. So,
That was kind of fun going into the little discussion there.
yeah.
Because there's so much that, like, I don't know. It's
It's a lot to figure out, isn't it?
It's a lot to figure out, and especially what I have been learning with this being a primary source of income is you get the opportunity for a paycheck, and it's sort of this balance of that's not something I want to do, even if it doesn't compromise like integrity or anything. It's just sort of like I don't want to spend my time doing that. I'd rather spend my time doing this. And then it's like that seems like more in line with what I should be doing, is focusing on what I'm excited about. That's going to be better in the long run. But what position am I in to be turning down paycheck or
Right, of
stability or
course.
anything like
Yeah.
that? And it's a weird thing of like kind of what you said of just knowing like I'm going to say no to this right now, but down the line something else will show up, and if I keep focusing on the stuff that I care about, the new stuff that shows up will have a better chance of being more in line with that, so I don't have to even have this question. But it's like, it takes a long time to get to that point.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just experience. You kind of just have to
Yeah.
go through it. But see, this is another reason why I love this show so much, because we would have these conversations anyway, but I
Yeah.
think it's worth sharing to
Well, it's great
the
to hear other
world.
people's
Yeah,
input and
exactly.
thoughts, and putting it out there too, and all that kind of stuff. And I think another thing
What's another thing, Tom?
that I was thinking of when you're talking about mindset stuff was interacting with the community, because I told you yesterday that this month May of 2021 has been a very weird month, analytically and everything. And maybe it's because the channel's growing, but the channel's not growing. Like there was a month, October was my largest growth month where I got like 9,000 new subscribers in the 1 month. Not come anywhere close to that. Everything is shrinking and going smaller now.
I like never check my numbers.
But
I couldn't
May
even tell you.
of 2021, I have gotten more mean messages this month than in the rest of the time combined. And it's like, I don't know what
another reason why I don't want silver play button.
And I don't know what is, but views are not up. Like subscriber numbers are not like high. Like nothing is up where it's like, oh,
maybe I swear it's just, you're just branching into like the people.
It must just be something like that. But it's a weird, bizarre thing. But it's shifting how I have to approach the audience, because typically, like, I'll check comments pretty regularly, like many times throughout the day. Or I used to even have like notifications would pop up, a comment comes in, hey, I'll reply, because it's like a fun conversation to have, or you get to thank someone for saying something really kind, or you get to have an interesting discussion. Rude. And now it can like bum me out. And so it's like you kind of like separating until it's on my terms. And I don't think he's here because he hasn't popped in, but Nick Lewis told me what he does, because his channel really, like, he hit 200,000 yesterday, and he was at 4,000 in December. So his channel just like skyrocketed, but that means he had to learn very quickly to adapt. And I hope it's okay if you're watching this, Nick. I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this. But he does something similar to what I do, which is he uploads a video and schedules it to post a little bit before he wakes up in the morning. And then he said that he usually, or at least it was a few weeks ago, lets the video kind of hang out for about 3 hours. And then when he's ready on his terms and he's woken up and he's had his coffee and had breakfast and he's sitting down, that's when he'll like, okay, now I'm going to dive into the comments for a bit on my terms. I'm like prepared for this, good and bad and all that kind of stuff. And then I will stop and leave it there. And that's kind of something I've had to adopt lately, just because it's so bizarre. I just saw Kevin pop up, filmmaker. And I was like, if someone knows how to deal with negative comments, it's Kevin. So there we go. That's
so like for me, I love the comments I'm getting so far, or like recently, just like this year has been so good.
Yeah.
Except there's one. Well, okay.
Was it the one I'm thinking of?
The Rachel Hollis video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was an older white man explaining to Heather what
no, not that comment.
Is. Oh.
But that video still continues to bring in
there's one comment on it that's well-intentioned but did not land.
Oh, well, you can explain that.
Oh, it's just an older white guy explaining to a woman of color what it means to be a woman of color. And I think it's coming from a good place. But you just don't. Anyway.
It's fine.
I think it came from a good place.
But like, I am so thrilled with the engagement that I've been getting. I never look at the numbers, so that's, take that for what it is. But I do look at the comments. I read every single one, and I save them. I screenshot a lot of them. And luckily, they've all been fantastic, and they've all been very motivating, encouraging, and very validating for what I'm doing, and especially like the pivot that I've been making. But there's one video that I did maybe like 2 months ago about Rachel Hollis, and to this day, there's a part of me that wants to delete it, because it really does bring in a very strange crowd. Vibes. Yeah, because in this video we talk about racism, we talk about, classism, elitism, social issues that are very controversial, are very, things that people typically avoid on YouTube.
Hot button issues.
Yeah. But I wanted to approach this because, one, Rachel Hollis is a content creator. I thought there was a lot of takeaways that fellow content creators like myself could take away from her whole thing that happened.
Takeaways to take away.
Yeah, but then the other thing was I wanted to put my voice out there with the intention of not only encouraging conversation, but to learn other people's perspectives. Like, I'm not trying to say that I'm right or wrong, but I wanted to see, is it possible to truly create a platform where it's like a safe space for everyone to share their thoughts. And I feel like I accomplished that, which is so surprising to me because, again, it's a controversial
Well, the first like
video.
few days or week or whatever the video was up.
I mean, I was writing essays, dude. Like,
but
still,
it was a dialogue. Like people
Yeah.
even who didn't agree with you were like
were there.
were
Like, they
explaining
yeah.
in polite ways like their point of view, and you were coming back with your point of view, and it was like, look at this,
Right, there's
respectful
no resentment.
disagreement online.
Exactly. It's like this. Why?
It's amazing.
There's no civil discourse on like Twitter or these other
Right.
platforms, but here it's like, wow, we can actually, you know, the reason why I don't delete that video is because of the comment threads and because there's timestamps on everything. So anyone who does see that video now only watches my video 5 minutes in and then writes a comment. It is very clear that they are just looking for validation for their opinion.
Yeah.
They're trying to just tell me that I'm wrong. Like, it's almost like they're calling themselves out, because if you look at the whole thing, it's very clear that, like, you know, you're creating a conversation that was not the point.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, they're coming at it with a different thing. Like that's what I was saying. Like initially, people were joining that to have a dialogue and engage with the thing.
Yeah.
Time has gone on. The story itself that you're covering died down, and now that video is going out to other people, so they're finding it. They just want to like hate on this person.
Yeah, and I'm like,
essentially,
dude, I'm not.
without
this is
having
not
any other
place,
dialogue.
yo.
JFK
Anyway.
says, does the same philosophy we talked about, you know, saying yes and no to things, translate to other careers? Because as a musician, I got to take all the gigs, a music producer in Jamaica where it's rough already. I think that's sort of like, I mean, in a way that kind of is the answer is no. I don't think it does translate to other careers necessarily, where you can be so picky and choosy. But in a way, it almost confirms for me on my end that if you have the ability to do so, then you owe it to yourself to do that, because so many people don't have that ability.
So, like, if you haven't heard, I'm obsessed with this passion economy thing. There's a book that I'm almost done with. It's called The Passion Economy. It's written by one of the people who taught me what the passion economy even is, Adam Davidson. And there's a whole chapter about an accountant, and the accountant, like, his whole thing with the accountant was, you know, this guy's an accountant. He started the traditional accountant path. It's a very boring, mundane job, but, you know, the client work could be very exciting. But basically, he started his own thing. And the one big thing that sticks out to me from that chapter is he consciously makes an effort to fire clients every year. And it's because if you are getting so selective with what you want to do, what you stand for, and what you're trying to achieve with clients, like, the clients that you probably started out with are probably not, you know, like, you can probably serve other people who are more in line. So I think as a musician, it's different. Like, you know, you kind of got to take the gigs. That's more of like the gig economy. But in terms of, like, if you want to be the specialist with this one very specific thing, like Tom is, I think you have to be I think it's better to say no to more things than to say yes.
Yeah. I was giggling. Well, first, sorry, Luis, I got to point this out. Got my first negative comment the other day. I hearted it and gave it a thumbs up. It is a rite of passage, like getting thumbs down, getting a negative comment. Congratulations. That's a big step. But I was laughing because Michael said, sorry about the typos. I have a new touchpad. As someone who types a lot on an iPad, I get that. I was trying to say, I think you're both awesome, but I'm glad you clarified, because the message that came out said, I think you're bi.
I saw that too, and I was like, I know that's not what he means.
Yeah, but I was so confused by it, and I was like,
what's the
it's
typo?
Fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but okay.
Yeah.
I was like, interesting to just sort of show up with that. Now this makes sense.
Boy.
And Bailey's giving Kevin some props over here. Hey, Ron's here, just running through a gear list for a job tomorrow. I kind of assumed you've been busy. I'm glad you got work picking up and all that cool stuff. Aubrey, boom. Yeah, being insecure seems normal, I think. I'm just a big dork. But when I get a ton of people messaging me saying they love my stuff.
Wait, what?
People relate to the dork because how often do you go online and see everyone being so cool and everything is so slick and you're like, I'm not that cool or that slick, and then you see someone just being themselves and being a dork and being all that stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a person that I would actually like know in my life and relate to. And
you know what I think it is?
What do you think it is?
I think it's that, like, my experience. I feel like I was never in an environment where I could be myself. So learning how to be myself on camera and building a brand around that was something I had no idea how to do. So I was very insecure because I was seeing how other people were doing it. And of course, I'm like, no, this is the impression I need to put forward.
Right.
And just like you could tell over the years, like, oh my gosh, this is Heather finding her Heather and like how to express that. And then I realized that, oh, the things that I would normally be insecure about, perhaps in person or in real life, is just the things that I actually lean into online. And it's weird that, I don't know, maybe that's like I'm sure there's a weird dynamic with gender expectations there. I think, like, you know, I don't know, maybe as a woman, like, I've been very careful about, like, you know, what people think and how me I am in real life and stuff.
I don't know. I think everyone, I can definitely relate to that. So I don't know that. Absolutely. I mean, that was a big reason of why I wanted to start my channel personally, was because I had just been doing like client work, and I felt like when I wanted to make something, it had no voice. It just felt like a client project. And so then I needed to discover my own voice, but then you kind of base it off of like what you're seeing and how other people are doing it. So you're like, well, I guess that's how this needs to be. But then you kind of find, you know, which is also just a reason like to get started and just keep making more and more stuff, because you can't find that. You can't put that recipe together until you just sort of go through the reps.
Regarding numbers, I wonder if transition to post-COVID world is a factor. Less time for YouTube, more time for real life.
I'm kind of wondering that too, which in a way I guess would be a positive thing.
That was going to be the topic I suggested for today.
Oh, it was like, how are things changing? Yeah.
Yeah, like consumer behavior when it comes to media, specifically new media, as we are transitioning back into post-COVID world.
Well, I shouldn't say all, but a number of other YouTube friends that I've talked to this month have all said the same thing, that everything is down, nothing is doing well, which in a way made me feel better. I was like, I'm sorry that you're not doing well, but at least it's not just me. So, I mean, I think that for sure probably has something to do with it. People aren't just like, more people were wanting to learn about live streaming stuff last May than this May, which is causing me dismay. But anyway.
Oh my gosh. If you always stand in the center of a magnet, you neither have a repulsive or attractive quality. Sometimes you need to stand on the edge.
Look at that.
Where's the air? Babe, you need to program F1.
You program F1. I don't know how to program F1.
Mona, what's up? Let's see. Creatives seem to be magnets for insert expletive here people. I can't even imagine what these big stars have to deal with all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when it comes to, like, the trolls, it's very easy to ignore, especially, like you said, Kevin, if they're not creating anything either, it's just like, okay, well
yeah, when
I
someone
can't even take you seriously.
When someone just hurls an insult at you, it's so easy that doesn't even mean anything. But it's where, like for example, I got a message or a comment on a video. Last week's video was about a Rode microphone. Is this one here? Rode sent it to me for free. And for some reason, and I'm very clear about that in the video. I didn't ask for this. Rode sent it to me as a gift. It wasn't even for a video. They just sent it to me, and now I like it, so I'm making a video about it. Super clear about that. But I have a number of people who are trying to play the gotcha game. Like, even today, someone was like, how did they know your address if they just send it to you? And I was like, I've ordered Rode products before. They have a database of customers. Like, gotcha. But another person, like... And when people say, like, so what will happen a lot is you might say, this video is not sponsored, even, you know, in a different video. And people are like, it's a lie, it's sponsored. You said something positive about the product. And it's like, you're wrong. Like, you're stupid. You're saying something as if it's an objective truth when I know objectively you're wrong. But it's this sort of this weird area where people, like, I had someone leave me a whole message that was, and there was someone with a profile picture with a channel that had hundreds of subscribers. So it was like, okay, you're kind of in this world too. And they're like, it's not a gift. Like, you're leveraging your influence to sell more microphones. Like, you and Rode are in bed together and blah, blah. And I was like, it's sort of like this thing where then I was stuck with, I'm just going to delete this because it's making me feel annoyed. But I also like,
what's your deal?
this is
like,
someone
what
who
do you
thinks
want?
he's making a point.
Yeah, like what do you want him to say?
But I also didn't want to like, well, geez, okay, so anytime this guy's definitely doing something shady because anytime you criticize him about this, he deletes it right away and it disappears. So it's like, okay, I'll respond to this one.
It's like something I hope I never have to deal
Yeah,
with.
well, it's like I decided to respond to that one specifically so it would be there for other people to see. So I explained like, how are we in bed together? Like I've purchased way more road products than I have been given. Let's put it that way. And also like there was no, I could have
like,
never even mentioned this microphone in the world. So how is this whole like conspiracy theory?
This is so stupid because literally anyone that knows you knows that you are probably responsible for thousands of dollars worth of sales for road.
Well, it's also because I like am so
like
in
without being sponsored.
This is such a thing of like ethics statement, sponsored this, doing that, trying to be so thoughtful, working with Artlist for a year before saying yes to sponsor something. When somebody shows up and it's just like, it's just another YouTuber trying to like sponsor this, and it's like,
you have to explain yourself to that
specifically
guy.
gets under here. And I know I don't have to explain myself to them, but kind of like I said, if
someone else
if I just only delete that, then it kind of becomes this thing of like, it is sort of shady because he always deletes that. So it's like every once in a while I kind of want to acknowledge it. Of course that dude never replied, but that's at least there. So here's a criticism. Tom replied, here's Tom's response. Now you can make your own decision at the end of that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's odd when we film ourselves, we feel so goofy after we press stop. And then when we rewatch it, everything seems fine.
Yeah, I feel so comfortable in front of a camera now, which is not how that was originally.
Learning how to be yourself on camera, it's a real thing. My first video sucked. We've been getting less views on our live streams overall. Being a dork is part of being a filmtopian. I love
it's in the
that.
contract.
I don't know if authentic real talk is so attractive to mass audiences. We mostly want escapism fantasy. This is why I know I'm not going to.
Well, I think it kind of depends.
I am all about the air fryer emporium, yo. Like,
so if you didn't watch your podcast this week, that's not going to make sense.
Like, I don't want silver. I want you to get the silver plate.
Well, I think it depends.
I do not. It's my worst nightmare.
But that's the beauty of YouTube, though, is you can have escapism. You can watch someone's short film. You can watch a weird documentary. You can watch just what is essentially trash reality TV. Or you can watch something that is relatable and authentic and you connect with. I think YouTube leans towards authenticity as being a strength, whereas you watch CSI or whatever, it's like, this is just escapism. I'm not trying.
I can't stand the fact that some people think that if you don't say anything negative, it's not a real opinion.
I know, and it's also like, the fact that I took the time to make a video about something probably, like, by its very nature means that I like it. I'm not going to spend my time making a video just to trash a product I don't like. Why would I do that? That would be a waste of time.
The road mic story is a very good example of how Tom creates and attracts his own abundance.
There we go. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I love the unfounded accusations. I just figured that's what they would, this is really annoying, do if given the chance. The accusation doth speak loudly. I'm talking not you, Kevin, but like when I hover over your thing in Ecamm,
on
your
stream.
channel icons, it says add to broadcast, and then it covers
up the comments,
and then I can't see.
It's a weird thing. I think it might have even been you, Kevin, but somebody was like, yeah, I just respond to those with like, thank you for presenting your subjective opinion as an objective fact. And it's like, have your opinion, sure, have it all you want, but like when you come in thinking like, I'm gonna blow the doors off like this little conspiracy and this scam this guy's pulling over here, it's like, I'm the wrong person to accuse of that, because like,
well, that's why it's like anyone who knows you knows how. Like,
well, it's like when someone shows up, you know, this happened a while ago, like, stop with the stupid puns and just do the stupid video, and it's like, okay, but the other 500 comments on this video are all like making puns and talking about puns and stuff. Clearly, like, people are on board with it, and you're on the wrong bus, so you should go to your destination because it's not here. Like, anyway, sorry. It's been a weird month.
You okay, babe?
I'm good.
You
feels
okay?
good to get this out, actually.
I didn't realize it was a thing that needed to be.
I didn't either, but this feels nice.
Aired out here.
It's so, well, it's weird because I haven't experienced this, and still, the majority of comments and messages I get are positive. The vast majority. It's just this month there have been more negative than the past 3.5 years combined, and like, it's that thing, you hear it all the time, like the brain is only wired to handle so much input.
So I really think that you are silver play button material. I think it's just a
Thanks.
matter of time. Do you ever imagine yourself getting to a point where you don't check comments anymore?
No, because, and I mean, Kevin's here. His channel's twice as big as mine. He replies to every comment, positive and negative.
Oh, wow.
That's like part of the brand. But I think what would be sustainable for my own sanity is to sort of take the Nick approach, or at least what I presented as that, which is like, I'm going to set aside some time and I'm going to dive into comments on this time and I'm going to reply and I'm going to engage you that. And then I will step out and not do that. And then, you know, every once in a while kind of pop back in and see what's going on, but not kind of like it's just the same way I jump in and try to clean out my email inbox every day. I do the same thing with YouTube comments. Like, can I make sure everything has been either, you know, replied to, acknowledged in some way, deleted if it's offensive, like clean up all that stuff, or not. So I know that is not sustainable, but as long as I can do it, I want to, because ultimately that ties into community building, which is one of the biggest, and it's one of the most important parts of anything like this, is the community building.
Yeah.
And so, you know, making the comments a space where people can have discussions and you can interact with, you can kind of make this one-way street a two-way street, I think is very important, and it's part of the job.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Let's see. I feel like if you switch to the dog camera, you could actually see a soapbox under Tom.
No, it is. My feet are. It's the dog.
It's the dog.
Yeah.
Oh, how
it's
bad.
just weird having our like legs on camera.
I find that to be the funniest thing. Those comments make me laugh the hardest. Gotta say, I'm seriously jealous. Having your spouse as a YouTuber who understands all the BS one can go through, priceless. Best thing ever was making friends with other creators.
Oh yeah, that's the best. Just little one of my creator friends sent me a thing today that they were like, why do I even check this anymore? And it was a screenshot of their studio that said like, today's video is 10 out of 10. Like, people aren't as interested in it. And I was like, oh, we're twins. And I did my screenshot where it said the same thing. And that makes you feel better, you know? So. Yeah, for sure.
That's parallel to society. 98% of people are positive, but that 2% really knows how to make their presence effing known.
And it's the same thing we've talked about a million times, just human nature. If there's 10 people standing there and 9 of them say something great about you and 1 says something even kind of negative, you're going to walk away from that remembering the 1, which is stupid. Like, you should focus on, oh my gosh, look at all the amazing stuff these 9 people said. This one person just over here, but you're just gonna be
just like crossing my fingers. Like, luckily I haven't gotten a negative comment in like a long time.
Yeah, that's good. And you used to get some real.
Yeah, because like right now, like I was trying to.
You were checking.
I was checking to pull up a negative comment, but it's not about me. It's about the topic,
which is fine. That's engaging with the material. That's
exactly
different. Totally different.
Right. But this person straight up told me like I assume too much. Don't assume, makes an ass out of you and me, like
that whole thing.
Yeah, but they are talking about it, the comment starts off about the points I made in the video. It has nothing to do with like you know,
there's a big difference if I make a microphone video and someone's like, oh, that microphone sounds terrible, I don't like it, versus like you're trying to scam us and do this.
I can't imagine like with my content, I can't imagine someone. Like, what is there to say?
Well, you know what? You did a really good job, though, because you were getting so many weird and negative comments, but you went through and you kind of found these videos, especially on this channel, where...
Dude, I hid
there were very popular videos that were sort of out of the realm of what the channel's about, and they were bringing in just the wrong people. Peeps. And you just...
Cut it.
Regardless of how well the videos were doing, you just...
I don't
unlisted
care,
the videos
because I'm not doing creator economy business models, dude. I don't need the views. I don't need the subscribers. I only want people who want to be here.
Sorry, I was trying to also put a Bailey's thing here. Super chat, gotta go. Can't wait. But great to hear this conversation. Can't wait for next week. See you later. Stay safe. Have fun. All that.
Okay, so for next week's conversation, this is what we're gonna do. Kevin, if you could be here, that'd be great too.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna do a call-in show. So all of you guys get camera ready and get ready. We are gonna send you our eCam link, and it's just a browser window that pops up. If you're not familiar with eCam, you don't have to download anything. It doesn't matter if you're PC, Mac, or whatever. Just have a webcam set up, and we would love to meet you, see you, give you some time to introduce yourself and hang out.
Be part of the show. And I'm gonna be on Kevin's stream next Saturday.
Oh, that's right.
The 5th. So
the 5th, yes.
Pleading the 5th. Anyway, so just to wrap up, James and Mark, we've gotten feedback on how I treat Mark. They genuinely think I'm mean to him, and they don't like how I eat sometimes. That's like,
see, that's
how you eat. How do you like? That's it's so. I subscribe to the thing on YouTube of the idea that if you think you're gonna make a comment about somebody's physical appearance, even positive, don't. Just don't, unless they're asking for it. If it's a fashion channel where they're like, hey, how do you like my new whatever? Talk about that. But if you're thinking, did you gain weight? Did you do this? Even sometimes when it's positive, like, oh, this person's hair looks awesome. Like, just don't. They didn't ask for that. That's not what it's for. Like, no need to do that. And Kevin said, hell yeah, woot. All right. Well, on that note, I think it's time to clear
the table. Oh,
So,
also, can I shout out my show? From 1 to 100 is my new show all about using the passion economy business model in the world of YouTube. So if you're a content creator and you want to learn how to make a living doing what you love by creating content and building a community on YouTube, check out my new live stream podcast, From 1 to 100. It's also a live stream every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over on my tutorial channel, youtube.com/Heather Ramirez. You can also check it out wherever you get your audio podcasts. But my guest for next week is the one and only Dominique Henderson. He's a financial advisor, CFP, and he built a completely new business. Nice. I hit a symbol. Because of his YouTube channel. So I'm excited for you guys to hear his story, how he did that, and talk about what we can gain from his experience.
That was an amazing podcast pitch. It sounds like you've been doing this forever.
Really?
Yeah, I think we should go out on well, it's sort of blocked, but I think we should go out on the handy cam. So there we go. Have a great week. We will see you guys.
Over here.
I'm trying, but I have to reach the road. Oh. So I'll see you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Next time.